Alright guys, some of y'all have asked to see a video of how I make my crab traps, and we'll just kind of go over some tools that you need, and I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I've got some cardboard. I've got the larger popsicle sticks. Got the thin coffee stirrers. Got X-Acto knife. Pair of tweezers always comes in handy. Of course, super glue. Just a type of paper clip, and you'll see why I use that. We have a paper cutter, and if I didn't mention, cardboard. So let's kind of clear this off and show you how we go about doing it. And we'll attempt to make a lobster trap. All right. Oh, and also we got this tube, and you'll see why I use it. And so let's get into this. Now this piece of cardboard come off a piece of tracing paper, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but there's a dark line runs right through there. So, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. So this, I've already got a mark on my paper cutter where I want to cut this, and it's probably going to make, I think it's like a 1/8 inch strip. All right, let's get into this. On this cardboard, you just want to lightly score it at first. And then it comes free. And there we go. All right. Let's get this right here. Now take your X-Acto knife and get as close as you can to that dark line. And all notepad backings and stuff may not have that dark line, but you can just start it down the middle and peel it apart. And then you got two pieces. So, all right. Well, let's get into this, and that's how you cut your cardboard. Now your large popsicle sticks, cut your round off, round it in, and mine are 1.25 inches, and I've got a piece I've already cut, so it's 1.25 inches. All right, let's get into this and start making us a crab pot. I've got some strips I've already cut. We'll use these right here. All right, grab your super glue. And just start with one right now. Put your dab on both sides. And then these strips are probably 4 inches long, if I remember correctly. And what you want to do is just hang about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. I can't remember exactly what it is. And get that one corner glued down. And be very careful with this super glue. I just got my fingers in it, and now I've got super glue on my fingers. Seen a post today. Somebody asked about what types of glue does everybody use? And everybody was saying super glue. So, and to be careful because you'll be stuck to everything, which is true. All right, now I take this pipe and I lay it right here. And I grab this end and gently pull it over. And like I said, it's going to get everywhere just because I'm doing it on video. All right, I'll be right back as soon as I get this thing under control here. All right, I've got it under control now. So what I do is, even though I've done got it super glued, I will add just a touch more super glue. Just to secure I know I'm taking it out of frame, but alright, that's super glued. And you hold it until it gets somewhat dry. Then I take my clamp, and it's going, once you get it there, it's going to stay, and you let it dry. And check it and just make sure it's right tucked to the corner as best as you can. Mine's off just a little bit, but it's not really going to matter. Because once you strip it out, you're not even going to see this cardboard. All right, let's let that dry and we'll be right back. I'll go ahead and add the other two, and then we'll come back to you and let you see what it looks like with just the cardboard strips on it. We'll be right back. All right, guys, there we've got our cardboard strips. You just fold it around and pinch it there in the middle, and then you just add that clamp on there, and it holds everything until your glue dries. I'm trying to make sure this pipe is somewhat centered while it's drying, and while we're waiting on that to dry, let's put it aside. Guys, we're getting ready to start stripping this lobster trap out. So I take your coffee stirrers, and then you take your X-Acto knife, just somewhere down the middle. Just score it. I mean, you're not going to get it perfect because your knife is going to run with the grain of the wood. Just take your time with this. And kids, if there's any kids watching this, have an adult do this for you or be supervised. All right. So we've got this scored. We'll just pull it apart. And to make it look straighter, I mean, you can see it ain't perfect, But remember what your flat edge, factory edge is. Lay this down here. And this is where you got to be real careful. You kind of look at it and try to imagine in your head how thick it would be. Of course, everything in our Christmas village is exaggerated. I mean, our people to building ratio ain't exactly right. But everybody gets the picture of what's going on. So what I do is I take my X-Acto knife, just kind of very slowly plane it down, try to get it all. You're not going to get it just right, but you can look at it and see the humps and the bumps, and I imagine that folks back in the day probably just used scrap wood to make their pots or their traps. They're actually called lobster pots. And sometimes you got to be careful. Pay attention to what your wood's talking to you as you're doing this. If it feels like it's going to cut deep and you're going to lose the length that you want, just flip it over and you can make this thinner than what you had. Okay, and there's a prime example. Listen to what your wood tells you. I went a little too deep, but I can still use a section of this, so I'm not going to throw it away. This one is pretty close. Yep, about lost it. So you just got to pay attention to what your wood is telling you. But we'll get these knocked out and we'll go from there and get ready to start stripping our lobster traps. All right, we'll be right back. All right, guys, I've got some strips here. Of course, I've got shavings everywhere too. Let's check our trap here. Just when you want to check it, just slightly give it a tug just to make sure it looks like everything is secure. So what I do, get this where I can kind of pull it back a little bit. Now if it don't want to come, because it's probably going to stick to the bottom. So if it don't want to come up, just kind of fold it over like that. Let's say them are stuck. And that's where the sanding block's going to come in handy. I just take a pair of side cutters. I ain't really worried about the bottom right now. That's when you know you got it glued good, when it folds over like that. So like I said, don't worry about the bottom. Because like I said, you're going to rub it on the sanding block. Once you get the crab trap completely or the lobster trap completely put together, slide my tube out. There we go, guys. You've got your arches for your stripping. All right. Let's add a few strips. Now, when you split them down the middle, you still gonna have to do a little shaving. There again, I'm paying attention. I'm using a lot of my scrap, so I still pay attention to my curve. And if you get a piece that's just, you got two straight cuts, I don't think I got this one right here. Just look at it real close. You can tell which is your factory edge, which is going to be this one, because this rides up. It rides up right there. So, and you can make them as thin as you want. These are roughly just a tick over, almost not 3/16. They're roughly over an 1/8 thick. So you can tell they pretty much coincide with the thickness of your, like I said, you can make them however thick you want them. All right, we'll take our glue, and I always start with the center. Again, be careful with the super glue. Just eyeball it, guys. Put a dab of glue right in the center. And I lay my stick down. This one has got a burr on it. And look at it, and like I said, it ain't got to be perfect. Try to get it centered. Don't press too hard because you'll crush that cardboard. And there you go, guys. I always like to leave mine longer. It gives you finger working room without getting in the glue. Try to let it set up a little bit. I'm going to put some more strips on here, and it's whatever you prefer. Let me grab one of these traps here. I'm going to grab a couple of them that I've already prepared. As you can see, I've got your opening right here. You see the opening right there. You can put them either side. I just elected on this one. I've got several that I've done just a little different. This one is over here. Well, I even done one that I put it on the end. So there's different ways you can do these, make them, and you can make square traps like they use mostly today. So let me get some strips on here, and we'll go from there. I'll be right back. All right, guys, and something I forgot to tell you. You want to have your tube in there while you do this, so you don't crush it. I didn't, but I caught it just in time. And when you put these strips on, I use my tweezers, and my tweezers will just get in there, and that's the spacing you want to, that I use to make it look somewhat uniform. All right, like I said, I'll get these stripped out, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, guys, as you can see, this side is complete. I've got one more piece I want to put right there, and it needs to be just a little thinner, or I can put a piece like this right here, and you want to try to, it don't matter if you put your factory edge down, and to keep the spacing, it's going to hang over just a little bit, as you can see right there. You can trim it down if you want to, but what I do is once I get it all built, I'll put it on the sanding block, and it'll sand out. And these coffee stirrers sand out pretty good. All right, now on this side, it's a little different. Remember, you want your opening in this area. So here we strip it out like that right there. We only go to the edge of this middle band and to create opening. So we'll rock on with that, and we'll be right back. All right, guys. So I've added my bottom piece right here, and you can see where my opening is going to be. But instead of putting two little squares right here, what I do is I take a piece of my coffee stirrer and I just put it up this way. So I'm going to put some glue right there. I'm going to take our tweezers. And we're going to set it in just like that. All right. Now, if you're using a piece of pipe to keep your form while you strip it, just every now and then, just give it a twist to make sure it's not sticking to your tube. Remember I mentioned something about crushing your cardboard as you put these strips on? You still got to worry about it, but every time you put a strip on, you're putting super glue basically the whole length of the strip, and it's going to give it some stability. So let's get this piece of pipe off. And there we go. You have the tops and the sides already slatted. Now what I do is I'll take my side cutters, and I have forgot to put that bottom strip in there. What I try to do is just get it just as close as you can. And yes, they are little wood strips flying everywhere. My wife's gonna beat me, but it's a good thing she's at work. So we'll try to be as close as we can to your little cardboard strips. And this has had plenty of time to dry. Only thing that's still wet is that little piece I put in the opening. All right, we'll start on this other side. That one got away from me. All right, and there we go. At this point, you could go ahead and sand this cardboard off. Or if you want to, you can go ahead and close your ends in. I don't put netting. Lobster traps have netting in here, and it's too hard to find anything small enough to go in there. But guys, I mean, you really ain't gonna see it anyway, unless you look real close. But 90% of the people that's looking at your village is not going to get that close to notice. But we'll, I mean, it's basically, you just take, you can do them however way you want to. You do them this way, one or two ways. Be creative, do it however you want. I mean, who's to say one is wrong and the other one's right? So, all right. So what we'll do is, now right here, I'll take and try to make a square cut. And I'll start in the center again. And what you want to try to do is, you'll have a little bit of a wood lip. Lay it right up under your wood on that strip. Now you're going to want to let this dry, because your fingers will get in the way and start knocking the next ones off. The ones that you've done had glued down, they'll start knocking it out of the way. And so we'll let this dry. I can flip it over. Let's add another piece. I'm gonna have to cut me some lengths here. See how it's gonna line up. Yep, I like that. Now this time, guys, especially if you got pieces with your rounded ends, put them toward the bottom. So when you clip them off, save them. Try to keep them from flying across the room. And there we go. I mean, we've got both pieces attached. Because what you're going to do is, let's see if I can find one. This one I hadn't trimmed up. But your next piece, you'll take your rounded end, put it up. See what I mean about moving? Getting in too big of a hurry. And guys, it ain't got to be perfectly straight, but you'll lay your, this one's a little too thick, but you'll lay your curved end right in the arch of the trap. And that just helps you when you clean up, when you get ready to clean everything up, trim everything off. So we're going to let these two pieces dry completely. That one is almost dry, and that's what I like about this type super glue. It dries very quickly as long as you don't fool with it. So we're going to let this one rest. And we'll get back with you as soon as it dries. All right, guys. Be right back. All right, guys. It's dried. We're going to continue on. A little off center on this side, but that's going to be okay. Like I said, this is a homemade trap. Some old sea wearing guy handmade this trap. And it ain't gonna be perfect. All right. There's that one. I got some more here that I trimmed up. We'll start on the other side of the dried piece. Add your glue. There we go. Starting the arches there. Still got a little bit of an arch here. And right here, I don't use my tweezers. I just eyeball it a little bit. Got another arch right here. Cut off a section of this. Those of you who love lobster like me, we're gonna go stick these in the water. See if we can't catch us a big old fat juicy lobster. All right, now I got a little section right here. Let's just see what we can come up with. Yeah, I think that'll work right there. Guys, this if you'll go to American Woodland Relics. I'm a metal detectorist, and that's where my main channel is from. And if you want to see my Christmas village from last 2021, if you hadn't seen it, I may have posted it on this group, but we've been doing Christmas Village for, I think, since 2018, maybe 17. But go there and watch it. And you can kind of see, especially last year's Village 2021, you can kind of see where my harbor is going to be that I'm making all these traps for. So I've made a boat, but there are several buildings in this village that I've made myself. One will be the warehouse for the railroad station. I've made a log cabin, fully furnished. Got the wood stove, a Hoosier cabinet, a bed, a table, and a chair. I made a kind of a A-frame ski chalet building. Just go over and watch that video and see if you can figure out what I made. Drive-in theater. Made the concession stand with the projector room. I have a Verizon calls it a pad. It's like an iPad, but I made a big screen that holds my pad in there, and I can show movies, which I try not to do for copyright strikes. I made my wife, her name starts with a B. I made her B's Sweets. I've made several things, and the reason I started making them was because I couldn't find exactly what we wanted. And so we just elected to start making stuff. But yeah, go to that video and look at some. You can tell which ones are handmade. But and I may show them in a group picture, do a video or something, especially the log cabin that's fully furnished. Door opens on it. So let me know if you want to see the buildings that I've made, and we'll go from there. All right, let's carry on with this. Try to get this knocked out. I always try to look at my pieces and see how they're gonna fit. But as soon as I get this end done, we'll be right back. All right, guys. Got her all glued up. Gotta add a little piece right there, but then I may leave it as maybe a slat's missing off that trap. But there we go. That's the basic idea of how we make our traps. Uh, Sand the bottom off a little bit. Try to get all this cardboard and get all this straightened up, and we'll run through that right quick. And uh, it may be a little noisy. What you want to do is just try to hold it as tight as you can. This is a rough, you can done see what it's done taking off the cardboard. And try to pay attention to if you're getting it out of level or whatever. And it don't take it long. I mean, you can see we're done getting it all straightened up on the ends. Starting to look pretty decent. But as soon as I get this sanded, I'll be right back with you, and we'll talk about how you want to paint it. I mean, if you want to leave it like this, look, with the new look on it, or if you want to, if I can get it, or to look kind of weathered. Now that's totally up to whatever you want to do. And on the string, I've got what is actually textile style. It's on a roll, and it's about the right size. I just pull a length off, 3 or 4. Well, actually, on this tube, I had slid this tube in here and wrapped it around there, and I just super glued it just so it wouldn't come apart. And so we've got the drag line already attached. I do super glue the knot. I tie a fisherman's knot if you ever been fishing, and tie your hook to your line. That's the knot I use, and just super glued it. That way it looks like it's got a center point, like the string's coming out, the rope's coming out. So there's several things you can do to it. You can put buoys on here. I elected not to because I can't find exactly the right size I need. And but yeah, just a little details like that, and then you can stack them up and put them on your docks or whatever. But like I said, you can paint them. And when I painted, we'll go ahead and talk about the painting. I painted gray, a very light gray on it. Then I come back with a real dark gray, and watered that dark gray down real thin, almost like ink, or basically running water is what it was. And then just brush it, and then take a paper towel and just dab it and go over your whole trap. And then I made some like seaweed green. You can see right here. I don't know how well that color's showing up. And I dry brushed it. Just take your brush and just lightly dip it in your paint and wipe just as much as you can off with the paper towel. And then I put a very light coat of white dry brush on there. And you do it the same way, dip it in your white paint, brush. You want a stiff brush when you do your dry brushing. And then just wipe as much paint off as you can. I mean, like I've almost cleaned it. yes, they still paint on them bristles, and they will come off in spots, but that's what I done. So I'm not going to go into uh, showing you how to tie you tie them whatever, but you got to also think about when the boats drag their pots up or their traps, they're going to come up like this. So you want to tie on the end where your hole is, your opening for your trap. So when the boat comes by and picks that trap up, it's going to do like that. And all your lobsters or crabs will go down to the bottom. So there's you need to do some research and see how things are done in order to be somewhat correct. So, uh, but yeah, that's the reasoning for putting your tie line, your pull line on the end of the hole. So when they pull the traps up, all your critters are pulled to the bottom of your trap and can't, because if you pull it up like that, there's a chance they, of course, this hole's in real traps have netting, so they probably wouldn't get out anyway, but I just do mine this way. All right, I'm gonna get this sanded up and we'll be right back. All right, guys, you see I've got it sanded up pretty good. That's what it looks like. But like I said, you can make them however you want to. Here, I didn't show y'all this one. This one's got the it's got the hole on this side instead of this side. Wasn't paying attention. And also, slats run this way and that way. So, I mean, and you can, like I said, you can make your entrances however you want to. But I'm not going to go through tying the lines to it. I just went over it. If you've got a little piece of tube like this, I think this is the new style water lines they're adding in. This would be for the cold. If it was red, it'd be for the hot water. This is the 1/2 inch size. But, and I just took my string and just wrapped it around. And like I said, I've super glued it so it'll keep somewhat of a shape. And it will change the color of your string, but it's not that noticeable. So there you go, guys. That's how I've done my lobster traps. And I'll be right back. Step right here for a second. Get the rest of the traps. There's our boat. Guys, we are ready to go catch some good old fat, juicy lobsters. But guys, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. And yes, I got my little lobster right here that I just kind of carved out. But like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and the ones that's asked for it. That's how I do my lobster traps. Guys, y'all have a good day, and I look forward to seeing everybody's post in our group. And uh, I'm gonna post this on my metal detecting channel also. And hey, we'll see y'all on the next video. All right, guys, y'all have a good day.